Welcome back, everybody, to the Girl Power Podcast. Our names are Janet, Melissa, Kefan, Sofia, and Mariteresa. We are 5 girls from all around that came together with the same passion for supporting females. With that being said, we are joined today with another female with that same passion, Veronica Garcia. Podcast today, we will be talking about various topics that have to do with gender inequality in the workplace. Did you know about 4 in 10 women face discrimination in the workplace? That's about 42% of the population in the United States. Please give a warm welcome to our special guest, Veronica Garcia, and one of my co-hosts, Janet. Hi guys, how are you guys doing today?
Hey Melissa, we're doing great here, thanks. And I'm here with our guest, Veronica Garcia. Let's give her a welcome.
So my name is Veronica Garcia. I work as a crisis intervention case manager for Monarch Services. I provide direct services to survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, and sexual assault. It is a nonprofit organization, and a lot of what I do is peer counseling, advocacy, case management. And I also do follow-ups for after a case has gotten a SAFE. So a SAFE is a sexual assault forensic exam. So we're part of the SART team, which is a sexual assault response team. So I just call them and see if they're interested in services and connect them to victim witness or other agencies as needed/wanted.
That's to continue getting more services other than what you could help them.
Yeah,
right?
So like we refer them to like victim witness. It's the biggest one, or like, a lot of them are oftentimes, unfortunately, survivors of sexual assault are not always ready for services. Mm-hmm. It takes them a while. And that's understandable too. But we do connect them to victim witness, or they also get services through us. So it varies.
Okay, what would you say is the best or worst thing about your job?
The best thing, honestly, is working for my clients. That and the people that I work with. So I have a huge passion. I've always wanted to work for women. I know that survivors can be men and women, but like I consider myself a feminist. So like just the experiences that I've gone through growing up and being in a position now where I can kind of, support women that have been in a position that my mom has been in, that I have been in, unfortunately, it's just helping them, because I know what that feels like on both sides, growing up with it and then being in that relationship. So that's the best part, that I can like really be there to support them, build that relationship, build that rapport with my clients. Likewise, the staff that I work with, they're all great people. They're all wonderful. We have a really good relationship. And the fact that I can go to them whenever I need anything, either professionally at work or personally, it's amazing too. The worst part is hearing the stories. There's times where I feel like I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I feel lost. And I know there's like only so much I can do, and there's only so much that the agency can do as a whole. So like I need to make sure that I have those boundaries between me and my agency, because I know that you can't save everyone. You can't do that. And at the same time, if you do it for them, it won't be empowering, because they have to do it for themselves. And realizing that sometimes people won't be able to help themselves either, and understanding like, okay, that's you do what you can do and forgive yourself for what you can't do and move forward.
Do you know of any women that have quit their jobs in order to take care of their families?
Not in this position, not working here, but at other places, yes.
Okay, like what are some challenges that women face trying to become independent, to become the head of the household? Like that you see women facing right now where...
Yeah, I know that, for example, where I used to work at, another place that I used to work at, they did have to kind of take a leave or like quit temporarily, because they were recent mothers, or they didn't have anyone to take care of their child. So they just had to like completely stop working and take care of their child. And also, I think she had to take care of her mom too. So that was really hard for her, and because she didn't want to leave the agency. And what I love about where I work now is the fact that I think because in almost all of us are all women for like in all offices, so we understand, and we work with a lot of women. We understand that, it's not easy to be a mom. It's not easy to, because a mom doesn't stop. That's a job that goes on 24/7. It doesn't stop. So they're very flexible and they're very understanding, like, okay, if you need to go home, if you need to pick up your child from school, go pick him up. If you don't have daycare, you need to bring him into the office for the day, okay, that's fine too. If you need to work from home because they're sick, work from home. So they're very flexible and understanding because of that. Even like going to the bathroom, you will see like pads, you will see like diapers, you would see all of that, because it's so welcoming in that sense. And I haven't had that in other jobs, or like heard of other people where they have that.
Before we jump into this podcast, I do want to give a little bit of a trigger warning, as we will be discussing topics like sexual harassment for a short period of time during our stream. If you feel as though you might be triggered by this topic, you are welcome to fast forward or skip to.
How often do women in the Monarch service and report sexual harassment? Like, how often do men come in and say they've experienced a sexual harassment, or from women?
From like clients or like
Clients.
clients?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the sexual assault unfortunately is from, well, people that causes harm. A lot of times it's people that they work with. But like, for example, in the sexual assaults that I've read, it's just, there's a sexual assault, a safe exam almost anywhere from like 2 to 3 a week. And those stories, like, you do see, like, they make, like, I can't really share. I'm not really sure. I'm not saying names, ni nada. But, like, you will see that, they'll try to, like, pressure them into having sex. Or they'll, like, get the other person drunk. Or they'll, force them down. They'll try and say things of, like, that kind of not instigate it, but, like, pressure. When you read those stories, the part that sucks the most is that, because not all of them, but when there is intoxication, they don't remember a lot of it, or some of them do get drugged, so you don't really know exactly like when that happens. Sexual harassment, specifically in the workplace, because, not to say that sexual harassment cannot happen between women, but it is like a predominantly women environment where I work at. And then, so there's not a lot of like, that I've heard of like sexual harassment disputes with HR, to my knowledge. But even so, like, the relationships that we have together, it's really close and united, that I feel like we would feel comfortable talking to each other as well, and like saying like, hey, that didn't make me feel comfortable. And I also feel like you have the support to like go to HR and talk to them if needed.
Okay, so you do those recommendations to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, staff or like whomever, like, you should definitely talk to HR.
Okay, and how do you, I don't know if you answer this, but how does sexual harassment affect women physically and mentally, like, with the stories that you hear? I know you can't share much, but, like, how do you think that affects them?
Well, I know that some of my cases that are not sexual assault, like, they do experience like domestic violence, but they talk about like where they've worked at, that it does make them uncomfortable, that they don't want to go into work. I remember that I used to work at a kitchen area, and I was pretty young. I was like in my early 20s. And a lot of the men that worked there would be in like their early 40s. So they would kind of like talk to you in a kind of way that, like, now looking back, it kind of felt like it was a lot of grooming. And then I remember I was talking to one of my coworkers, and she told me that someone that was working there basically like kind of like insinuated that he wanted to pay her to have sex with him, because he was like complaining about like how he wasn't having sex with his wife, and they were having marital issues and this and that. So like the fact that this 40-year-old was complaining about, he was first have complaining about like marital issues, then goes into like not having sex to like this young 20-year-old, like that's not okay. Especially because like there was a lot of rumors that this girl was in a having a sexual relationship with one of the coworkers there who was like twice her age. um so like it that kind of spread. So like, you know, even though that didn't happen to me directly, you know, it made her uncomfortable. And now it's like, oh, now I know about it. And it's like, oh, I need to be careful with this person now. And I need to be mindful about what they say and be more hyper vigilant. The women coworkers were all, for the most, the students specifically were all pretty close. You know, you kind of develop your relationships there, but like with the older men, that's where I kind of like te ocupas cuidar un poquito más. And then it kind of made me think about like this older person that she was in a sexual relationship with. I kind of started thinking back, like, it made me think back about like, okay, how is he talking to me then? How is he talking to me? And it started to make me feel more comfortable and kind of detach myself more from him, because he is a very friendly character. He is very like approachable y todo eso. But then it's like, you start to think like, oh, are you being friendly? Like, are you genuinely being friendly, or like, are you trying to get at something, you know? And it made me feel bad for her, because, you know, being in your early 20s, you're in college, you're away from home, you're young, you know, you have so many things going on. And if this person treats you good, et cetera, like you do become groomed into like doing these things. So that environment was not healthy in that way. And I don't know how many of the staff knew that. I don't know how many of them like were aware of these things going on or not, because I would only talk about it with my friends working there.
Or how many women had to go and experience that.
Yeah, and not say anything. Or like,
Yeah.
if they did say something, like, you know, I honestly, I don't know, because, and that's the part that sucks, you know, about like sexual assault, harassment, etc., is that you do get kind of scared, because you don't know, like, if, especially like for example me, like you don't know this is with her having that sexual relationship with him. Like, it's okay that I don't want to spread her personal business. And at the same time, like, I don't know if it is consensual, but at the same time, like, is it, was she groomed into it? Now looking back. But at the same time, like, what she shared with me, I don't know if she shared that with a manager or not. I really, to this day, I really don't know. And survivors that go through that, they oftentimes don't report it because they're scared, or they feel guilty, they feel bad for this other person. And
you mentioned the story about your coworker that you go back and think, oh, maybe he was trying to do that, but then you put a stop. So then he was like, I'm not gonna pass that.
con
Right?
ella, conmigo.
With you.
Well, with me, he would just like, I just looked back and I was thinking like, you know, we were having a really close relationship. You know, like he would get really close, etc. But for me, it was like, oh, we were just working together. We're being friendly. Like, in my head, there was no malice, ill intent, or like nothing of that sort, right? We were just coworkers working together. But after she told me that, it just made me think like, okay, maybe I need to take a step back and be aware of like, where am I exactly? How old am I? How old is this person? Like, just look at the big picture.
That could maybe happen to you.
Yeah. You know, like, you know, what if he ever offered to like do anything? I don't think he ever did. I don't remember. But like, at the same time, it made me take a step back into our friendship, you know?
Yeah, because you didn't want that to happen for him to get to that point. But I think he was aware that you were aware. What was he heading towards? Because your friend had just told you, or you had just experienced that story with your friend. So you're like, wait, like this sounds like the same scenario. So I should just put like a stop.
Yeah, and after she told me that, it just made me be more mindful about how I talk to like other male coworkers, older men at that place. Yeah, and it sucks because like I know that not all men are like that, but then it's a reminder of like your vulnerability as a woman, as a young woman, as a young college woman who's who's far away from home.
Yeah, that would take me to the next question, which is what is some advice that you would give a woman facing gender discrimination in the workplace? But I think you mentioned it by what you told your friend or you did. So what did you do in that situation to kind of
I
make it stop?
I think at that, I mean, it was more like me. I had to like take initiative and not continue that relationship in any way, shape, or form, or set more boundaries, or be like more cold toward the other person. Like, instead of being friendly and like joking around, I kind of take a step back and be like, be more professional with the other person.
More
More
serious.
serious, yeah.
Okay.
But honestly, I think that if things do get like that people should talk to a manager about it. If you don't feel safe about doing that, go with a friend, go with someone that makes you feel safe and comfortable. Or you can also call anonymously and like to the manager and be like, hey, like I work here, this is what's going on. I don't want to say my name, but like this happened to me. Because being in a nothing sucks more than being in a toxic work environment, especially in like if that's going on, that's not okay. I mean, ideally, if HR is good, they're supposed to mean that anonymous. I hope that things like that, because they will have to talk to the other person, but I don't think they would put the two of them in the same room, because there has to be some form of like it being anonymous to protect the survivor.
You're
So
right.
if that ever does happen, I would be very concerned and I would have some questions if like both people were in the same room, because the fact that someone who is like impotent, like has this experience and are vulnerable, and you're gonna put them in the same room with the person who's like causing harm to them and talk, that's not okay.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll do that. I don't know.
So how you deal with men or the separation in
Yeah.
the workplace?
Well, I think after that experience, like that was back when I was in college, so it just made me it set better boundaries with me and like how I talk to, especially when there's like such a huge age gap. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
20 and they were like in their 40s. It made me be more aware of that. And at the same time, like if I ever do meet someone who's like in college, just like talk to them, be like, hey, just, be careful, because, you are unfortunately vulnerable, and not just in a college setting, just like in any setting.
Yeah.
And it sucks that like we have to do that as women, but we also just, looking at statistics, looking at reports, looking at everything, the numbers are there.
I think you mentioned this one, but do you believe that there have been some positive changes that are working towards eliminating gender inequality in the workplace? And that was like
Yeah, I've also been hearing that well, a lot of jobs, especially here, I think in the Santa Cruz area, I don't know about other places, but I think there's a big push for that. There's a lot of departments of inclusion, equity and inclusion, where they're supposed to talk about this, and a lot of jobs always do training on like sexual harassment. It's always a mandatory, so it's good to have those trainings, because the reason why those trainings are important is because they hold everyone accountable, and you can't say like, oh, I didn't know, I couldn't do that. It's like, no, you took this training, so
so. Last question: what changes do you hope happen in the next couple of years in regarding to gender equality? Why do you think that discussion about the pay gap is important?
yeah. The pay gap is important because I really don't understand why men get paid more. I don't understand it. I also wish to see more women CEOs. Like, I want to find more women-led companies, especially women of color. I would like to see more, rights and well, more work benefits in regards to like when a woman gets pregnant and needs to take care of her child. I think they only give you like 3 or 6 months. It would be better if you get like 9 months, or like 10 months would be amazing, or even 7 months. I really don't know what the time frame is.
So you said that you haven't experienced any gender pay
Well,
yourself.
yeah, and I will be transparent. I think that I really encourage people to talk about how much they get paid at work because it shouldn't be a taboo. Often companies or agencies will say, like, don't talk about it. No, they don't want you to talk about it because they don't want you to know the discrepancies between the pay amongst each other. In reality, you should be talking about the pay again if you feel comfortable with it, because that's when you get to see, like, why are they getting paid more than me? Like, that's where you start to see the inequality. So in general, you should always be talking about pay.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for being here and being like for our team and for our listeners. And thank you for your time.
Of course.
Well, thank you, Janet and Veronica, for the in-depth discussion of today's topic. We'd like to end our podcast today by saying that this is really a broad social issue that needs to be addressed and brought to people's attention. In today's episode, Janet and Veronica discussed many important things, and we hope you have some valid takeaways from today's episode. Speaking of which, thanks to our team and listeners. Hope you all have a great day.